As much as it is very important to have all the necessary information about climate change and its impact, it is equally very important to know how to process it and deal with the overwhelming feelings that it comes with. This is where eco-anxiety comes in. Just like any other type of anxiety, it needs addressing. Joining the program today is Mr. Saldin Kimangale, a clinical psychologist based in Dar es Salaam. He'll take us through the discussion on eco-anxiety from an expertise point of view. I am Eva Lilian Masawe. Kindly join us and stay till the end. Just like in any other concept, you will do well to understand what eco-anxiety means. Before getting further to the discussion, Mr. Saldin takes us through that.
So when we talk of eco-anxiety, it comes from two concepts. One is eco, which is related to environment and climate. So anything to do with our environment, the climate, we term it as eco. So we have like ecosystem or eco-anxiety, ecology. So anything to do with the interaction between the environment and something else, so it becomes eco. On the other side, it is the anxiety, which is a natural response to a threat. And this threat can be real or perceived. And the reaction, the way that we are reacting, we tend to react either by fighting or flight or freezing. So it becomes a clinical condition when someone is facing the stimulus, the anxiety itself, and it affects the way you do your life. So it does interfere with your day-to-day activities. But naturally, having anxiety is normal to everybody, but only when it interferes with your level of functioning or you are impaired is where it becomes a problem. So when we combine the two ideas or the two concepts, the environment and the experience of anxiety, we have this eco-anxiety. So eco-anxiety means kind of anxiety or is type of anxiety that people experience due to environmental doom. That when we have these changes in the environment, people get anxious. So it comes from any changes that happen in the environment and cause fear and worries and frustration. It's called eco-anxiety.
So what differentiates eco-anxiety from other types of anxiety?
So the difference between eco-anxiety and clinical anxiety, the experiences are the same, but the source of anxiety is different. So we experience fear because of these major changes. Like when you talk to, let's say, student, you being a teacher, and you are teaching the students about the climate change, about global warming, and you are telling them that in the past, the temperature, the global average temperature was let's say this amount, but in the span of 100 years it's risen up for about 1 degree of Celsius. So for the kids, they're trying to project what's next, about 100 years to come, what the world will be like. For instance, in 2021, the United Nations declares that the rise of global average temperature will be almost to 4.4 degrees Celsius in the end of this century. So right now, if you think and you try to zoom the temperature that we have is too much, if you are making assumption until the end of this century how the situation will be if it will rise by 4.4 degrees Celsius, that means people and other living things will be in a very great danger. So this one creates a sense of fear.
As it is for every other thing, there are also causes of eco-anxiety, as explained once again by Saldin Kimangale, who is a clinical psychologist.
Most of the time, students and other people are taught about the impact of climate change. Like we have these torrential rainfalls, we have hurricanes, we have floods, droughts. So all of these, when you are mentioned to the children and other people, they tend to rethink, what is it? So what next? Because of this questioning, so they create kind of fear. And because this is out of control, or we perceive to be out of control, so in the coming generation, like if I'm talking to my child who is maybe 10 years old, do you think he can or she can think of having children who will be living in this kind of climate? It's so difficult. In Tanzania, for instance, between 1912 to 2011, the NASA reported that the amount of ice melted in Kilimanjaro, it is for about 85% the melting in a span of how many years? Almost 100 years. So if for the span of 100 years, the melting of ice was about 85%. So what is it about the next 100 years? Are we going to have the Kilimanjaro again? So when you think of this kind of changes and shifting and the impact that we are going through, people get frustrated. So it's where the concept of eco-anxiety come in. Of course, you have that other times with other kind of experiences that people are experiencing. But in this case, eco-anxiety, people get frustrated, worries, fear because of what is going on within the climate.
I'm not sure whether it is thin or thick, but there is definitely a line or difference between the normal concern about the climate change and its impact and when eco-anxiety kicks in. Let's hear again from the expert on how you can detect or tell the symptoms of eco-anxiety.
One, the preoccupation. Someone is preoccupied with the thoughts of climate and anxiety. Like when people are talking, what are they mentioning most of the time? It's like, look, the drought. Look, the floods. Look, the hurricane. So all of these, they get anxious because of what they are experiencing or what they are told or what they are seeing or watching the TV, like they are talking about the climate. So one of the symptoms is preoccupation of the thoughts of these major changes due to climate. And number two, the moment that they are thinking of this, what are they going through in their thoughts, in their behavior, in the physical body? For instance, for children, they are isolating, okay, or they're shutting down. Even us adults, we don't like to talk about this, not because we don't know what is going on, but we are kind of denying. We have less control over this phenomena. So what should we do? So everybody is kind of isolating, not wanting to talk about it because it's too much talking about it while you don't have any mechanism to overcome the situation. But the other thing, the clinical anxiety is irrational, that someone is fearing something which is not fearful. But with eco-anxiety, the threat is there and the threat is real and the impact is seen. But sometimes there is exaggerated fear out of it. Like you find someone, because you're told, like when you are using, for instance, AC. So because you're using AC, you're producing the CFC gases. So someone may pull back that, no, I don't want to use AC, or I don't want to use plastic bag. I don't want to use them at all. So this kind of restriction or restriction from using some of the products might be exaggerated. That there is some certain point that you can use, but overusing is a problem. So for some people, they pull back completely. So this kind of behavior, it is denoting that someone is experiencing eco-anxiety.
It is of no doubt at all that eco-anxiety is indeed a complex phenomenon. What makes it even hard is the fact that the fear is rationalized because the impact of climate change is here and it is real. As a winding note, Mr. Saldin Kimangale, a clinical psychologist who has been featured in this discussion, gives some suggestions on how to deal with eco-anxiety.
There are two ways. One is to face the climate change, that means the cause of this anxiety. The other side is to face the outcome of the climate change. That means if somebody is anxious or is having eco-anxiety, that means they need help. That is one side. On the other side, we need to stop the causes of climate change. For instance, the production of these CFC gases, the deforestation and environmental degradation in general, burning and the industrial activity that we are doing, and all other human activity that we are doing around our cities and everywhere. So this is one part of which, this is one area that people are fighting the climate change, which is so good. But on the other side, people are not aware of that already we have impact. So on the other side is the resilience, that we need to build the resilience to our children, because this is real, this is going to happen, if not today, then 200 years to come. So we need to build a society which is resilient to the climate change and all other catastrophes, because they are coming. If not climate change, something else will come. So the resilience. But the other thing is having enough information about the eco-anxiety and climate change in general.
According to a report by the American Psychological Association, talking about climate change with others is a first step towards engagement, yet only few people talk about it. This may be due to what has been termed as spiral of silence, where people avoid bringing up climate change topics because they wrongly believe that it is not a welcomed discussion. Sharing data showing that many people are in fact concerned about climate change may help change this perception and let people start concentrating more on the discussion. With this, we have come to the end of yet another episode on Let's Talk Climate series. If at any rate you feel like you are experiencing some symptoms of eco-anxiety, you'll do well to take some actions about it as suggested in the program. You should also consider listening to the program as many times as you can to grasp everything. And while you're at it, remember another episode about another aspect of climate change is on the way. I am Eva Lilian Masawe. Let's meet again in the next episode. See you then.